Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special crossover edition of Beaver Dash. I am here with Jasper Sundin from California Golden Bears Dash. Jasper, why don't you introduce yourself? How you doing today?
Howdy, y'all. I'm Jasper from Bear Dash, the Daily Californian. I'm excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me on Beaver Dash. This should be fun.
Yeah, I'm very excited, and one of the reasons I'm excited is because I finally get to talk to a fan of another team in the Pac-12 that is not so high on their team right now. Obviously, both of our teams let us down pretty substantially so far this year. I guess I'll start with this. What happened last week? What were you expecting coming into the season, and where are your expectations now after seeing that Week 1 loss to UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I think a lot of Cal fans have had to think about. There were high expectations entering the season. Like, any way you cut it, like, this Cal program was supposed to be on the up and up. After last season, that 8-5 record, making a bowl game, winning a bowl game, winning that big game, it just felt like there was a lot of momentum here. I mean, Cal was picked to finish second in the Pac-12 in preseason polls. This is a team that was supposed to be able to compete with Oregon. I think that's what a lot of Cal fans are expecting. And if there's one thing we know from that game against UCLA is Cal's not ready to compete with Oregon right now, or at least they did not look ready to do that. So I think expectations have been recalibrated, but a lot of that is due to the pandemic. Cal had a positive test. It meant their game against Washington was canceled. It meant the entire defensive line was quarantined for 14 days. That means the defensive line can't practice as much. That means the O-line and the entire offense can't practice against a real live wire defensive line. And that hurt the team. I mean, you can watch that game. They were clearly not ready. They were not making plays they should have been making. And a lot of miscues, a lot of general sloppiness. And I do think it really reset my expectations for this season. But what about you?
That makes complete sense. I'm not gonna lie. I came in with expectations. Maybe they are too high considering what everyone else in our Dash crew said. But I honestly expected. We went 5-7 last year. We lost 3 games by 1 score. And really, we are right in there in that Oregon game. We should have won that Oregon game if it's not for a goal line fumble by Jamar, which was a fluke fumble. I'm not going to blame him, whatever. But we had a really good season, especially considering the year before, 2 years before that, we won 1 game, and the year after that, we won 2. So we went 1, 2, and then 5 games. This year, I was really expecting we're at least going 3-4. I even said 4-3. But 2 games I thought we were going to win coming to the season was WSU, and I thought we were going to be able to maybe beat UW, especially given that they missed their first week due to COVID, you know. And how, after seeing how we played those first 2 weeks, I am back in the position where I was my freshman, sophomore year, where I feel like a Beaver fan, you know. It's tough. I mean, our offense was supposed to be high-powered this year. Obviously, we're returning Jamar, who we're going to get to here in a second, who's a phenomenal player, and he's probably the only guy, I'd say, that has shown up for us. He's the only guy I look at on the offense or defense, and I know for a fact he's going to produce. With that being said, what do you think about Jamar, and does Cal have an answer for him this week?
Look, we both talked about how disappointing the seasons have been thus far for our respective teams. I think the disappointment's going to have to roll on for Cal. Look, the thing is, Cal gave up 244 rush yards against UCLA, 107 to Demetric Felton. And not to say that the guy wasn't good out there, that UCLA didn't have a solid game, but you don't think of UCLA as having one of the best rush attacks in the Pac-12. You do think that about Jamar Jefferson. I mean, the guy's averaged like 5.8 yards per carry. The guy's practically getting a first down every time he touches the ball. It's ridiculous. And Cal didn't have an answer, and it's not like Cal is going to get that answer. Like I said, this defensive line was in quarantine for a while. They weren't able to practice. That hurts you. That makes you less effective. They weren't able to make.
That's an interesting point, and you've said it a couple times, and I didn't really even consider that. But the defensive line, as we both know, the game is one of the trenches, right? So how much of that loss do you attribute to the fact that just because your line couldn't really practice for 2 weeks, do you think there's going to be a big turnaround in week 2 against Oregon State, or do you think that your line kind of is going to continue to do what they did week 1?
That's the thing. See, I think they're going to be better just because, like you said, there's a week to practice. That has an effect. The thing is, though, Cal's lost a lot of talent on the D line. Entering the season, the Bears were supposed to have Zionde Johnson, Luke Beckett, and Brett Johnson starting on that D line. These were three experienced guys. Brett's a sophomore, but he was phenomenal last year. Ziande and Luke were 6-year seniors, so I mean that's about as much veteran experience as you could ask for. Yeah. Beckett transferred, and then Aaron Maldonado, who's supposed to come in and start out nose guard as his replacement in that front three, is injured for the season. So I mean, you already had a line that didn't have depth. They've only lost depth since then. In addition, Cal lost some really key pieces. They've had an outside linebacker that's opted out. Evan Weaver was lost to the draft. I mean, the problem with losing talent is you don't get that depth back when you practice for a week. And that's why it's hard to see Cal just figuring this out.
Yeah. No, and that makes complete sense. That's why I'm really confident. I've been confident the last 2 weeks, so I don't know if I should even have confidence. But that's why I'm really confident that this could be a game we win. Because I have so much faith in Jamar. I think Jamar is probably going to rush for somewhere between 120, 150 yards. He's going to probably get upwards of 5 yards a carry. The thing is, if I'm Cal, after watching what Oregon State did against UW last week, I am literally putting 8 in the box and daring us to throw the ball. Because I think if you guys stop Jamar, then it's going to put a lot of pressure on Jibbia, and Jibbia's proven he can't really handle pressure. Of course, we're going to get to the quarterbacks here in a second, but I think what you said is Jamar is going to kind of be the X factor. He's more than likely going to have a big game, so if Cal can lock him down, hold him underneath 120 yards, I think that puts you guys in great position to win the game. With that being said, do you have a realistic expectation for what this team could do to Jamar? Do you think they could hold him under 100, hold him under 120, or what do you think?
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. If you gave me 150 yards, I might have to take the over. And again, it's just because I don't see where that would come from on the Cal side of the ball. There are a couple things Cal can shore up. Cal was terrible tackling. I can't tell you how many times I saw DTR 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage against UCLA, and it seems slip out and get upfield. I mean, the same thing with Demetric Felton. Like, to stop guys, you need to bring them down, and if you can't do that, it's just going to be a long day. That being said, that Jamar Jefferson isn't where you get that back. You know, like, he's not a player where you're like, hey, we can sit here and recover our tackling ability. He's just going to make it all the more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're sounding like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's funny because this week on Beaver Dash, Morgan and I, we were talking about our defense and how we can't stop the rushing game at all. And it sounds like I'm hearing myself talk, because our defense literally, it's you basically the first tackler to the ball carrier. I just assume at this point they're going to miss the tackle and they're going to get ran through. I think this game is going to be a very sloppy game. And I know last year, I think the final score was what was it last year in our game? Was 21-17?
21-17, yeah.
I would be really surprised if it's that low scoring this week, because I think both of our defenses are going to give up a lot of rushing yards and make it easy on the opposing team's quarterback, which, I mean, it'll be an entertaining game. We'll see what happens. But it's just going to be interesting because even if Jamar rushes for over 150 yards, I mean, he's played great the last 2 weeks. So it's almost we're almost at a spot where it's like Jamar's proven he's going to have a great game and we're still going to lose the game. So is that kind of where you stand right now? You're kind of just Jamar's going to have his big game and we could still win? Or is it we're kind of screwed, Jamar's going to run all over us?
That's kind of how I'm feeling, just because, I mean, we'll get to the offense in a second. Cal hasn't been able to produce points. I could see, like you said, this could be a real sloppy game. I could see a lot of field goals happening when teams just sort of box it in the red zone and close the field down. But I don't. It's a two-sided coin, right? Every game is. You need to be able to stop the other team, and I don't think Cal can stop Jamar Jefferson, and you need to be able to score, which I also don't think Cal can do. Before we segue into that latter half of the show, though, I do want to get your ceiling for Jamar this season. How far do you think he can go? What do you think, maybe statistically, maybe awards-wise? I mean, we love to see Pac-12 players get that recognition. What do you think he's going to get this season?
Yeah, well, I think his absolute ceiling, especially with some of the key players in the Pac-12 missing time already. You look at Max Borghi over at Washington State. He was one of the favorites to be one of the best backs in the whole nation. He's missed some time. I think Jamar, he has a chance to be, and I think if he stays healthy, that's his thing. If he stays healthy, if he's healthy, he's going to put up numbers. I think he should be first team all-conference. I think if this was a full season, I would expect 2,000 all-purpose yards. Given that's a 7-game season, I really think he should get at least 1,200 all-purpose yards. think he's already at like 450, somewhere around there. A lot of touchdowns. And the thing is, he's just a workhorse. I think he's going to be probably a second or third round draft pick next year. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because he's putting up these numbers when we basically have no threat at the QB position, which is really impressive. Imagine if we had like a dual threat guy or a guy that was at least putting pressure on the defense that we had the capability of airing it out. Imagine what his yards per carry would be then. Because he's literally putting up 5.8 yards per carry, and the other team knows we're going to run the ball. So, I mean, my expectations are high for him. And to be honest, they were high at the beginning of the season, and he's looking like he's going to exceed those because really he's the only reason as a Beavers fan I want to watch the games these days. He's literally the only guy out there who's playing with heart. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm hoping for a big game against Cal, and given that we play you guys and then we have a tough schedule of Oregon versus we have Oregon and then Utah the following 2 weeks, this really has to be one of his best games of the season if he's going to be considered for some end-of-season award. So it should be interesting. It should be fun. But let's move right along to the second topic. As you know, we've kind of alluded to it, but both of our QBs struggled pretty mightily last week. For example, Tristan Gibbia last week, he was 11 for 24, 85 yards, 1 interception. And I'll let you answer, or the fans, whoever's watching, answer, but is that worse than this? 18 for 33, 122 yards, and 1 interception from, I believe, it's Chase Garbers, right? Okay. So what's worse, 11 for 24, 85 yards, or 18 for 33, 122 yards?
I'm going to be honest. When I was looking around, when I was doing research, or after that UC game, I was like, there's no way anyone in the Pac-12 could have been worse than Chase Gardner. There's no way. I mean, he was abysmal. Like, he had a couple moments there, like a couple nice passes, but, I mean, you can look at the stat line. It tells the story. It does not lie. And then I saw Tristan Gebbia's stat line, and I had to sit there and think to myself, like, hold on, maybe I was mistaken. I feel like Gebbia was worse, and I don't have the benefit of watching him abundantly, but it wasn't great. I will say though, Chase Garber's 1 interception it was a kindness. I don't know how UCLA didn't have 4 or 5 picks in that game. I mean, there were so many plays where the ball hits the ground. You're just wondering, like, how did no Bruin come up with that? Like, how does Cal still have the ball? It was pretty abysmal. There are reasons for that. Cal's implementing a new offensive scheme. They have a new OC. That's all coming on the end of a shortened camp. And this was always going to be a struggle. It wasn't going to fit in perfectly, which it clearly didn't.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Yeah. Clearly, both teams have no answers at the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I was saying. This whole offseason, me and Morgan, we debated back and forth. Do we want Chance Nolan to start or do we want Tristan Gibbia? And I hate to be that guy, but I mean, I told him I was right. I wanted Nolan from the get-go to start because I saw Gibbia as a guy who's not mobile back there. I knew our line was not going to be as great this year. We lost 3 starters off our line. And it's like every single time he's feeling pressure immediately, and he's not the type of quarterback who can perform under pressure at all because he can't escape the pocket. It really just looks like he reads one read. I don't want to rant again because I'm feeling myself getting there. I already ranted earlier this week. But, I mean, it's just really disappointing because what really sums up his performance against UW last week was with how bad he played throughout the whole game. We should not even have been in a position we had the chance to drive the ball down the field and win the game because we were down 21-27, get the ball back with like a minute 40. His 4 plays, incomplete pass, and it's 4th and 10. This sums up what he's done as a quarterback so far this season. It's 4th and 10. They rushed 3. There's no pressure near him. He somehow feels pressure, ends up throwing it. There was no one else from. And the ball did not get swatted down by the defensive lineman. He threw it off our offensive lineman's shoulder. And I just don't understand how that happens. I really want to see something from him because I think his time is kind of ticking. But I guess that kind of leads to the question of this topic. Do you have faith that Garbers is going to bounce back this week? And then I can kind of give my take on Gibbia after.
I think Garbers can. I think he has it in him. He was much better at points last season. He struggled with injuries, but the guy at the very least was a proven winner. Not against UCLA, which I think everyone could ascertain for themselves. But he went 7-0 last year when he was the starting quarterback, when he started and finished the game. I'm sorry. And again, not putting up monster numbers. I think he threw for over 300 yards just once against Ole Miss. But he does have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you watch the game against UCLA, a lot of it was just it's little miscues. He's underthrowing balls, he's overthrowing balls, he's just not quite hitting the receiver. He's a good guy. He's not a run threat, but he is mobile. He does make plays with his legs when he needs to. If he can get comfortable, if Cal can get him in rhythm, I mean, you'll notice he went 18 for 33, which is terrible. But this is still a Cal offense that called 33 pass plays for Garbers.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's a good point.
They have faith in him.
Go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
No, you're chilling. You're chilling. I had to get that in.
I was just going to say, the one thing that I was looking at Garbers, last year he had a pretty solid season. I kind of feel like last week, obviously I didn't watch the game, you know better than me, but I feel like that could have kind of been an anomaly to a degree. And I started looking back to what he did against Oregon State in his past, because I know he's a junior. Is he a 3-year starter? He started his freshman and sophomore year?
Yeah. He got a good amount of starts freshman year.
Okay, so because I was looking, his sophomore year he must have been injured against us, didn't play, which is maybe why we were able to keep you guys 17 points. But his freshman year, he dominated us. You guys beat us 49-7, and he went 17 for 26 with 3 touchdowns. So I mean, he's had success against us in the past, which kind of I think bodes well for you if you're looking at it from your guys' vantage point and you want to see a bounce back. This is a team he's already had a lot of success with. But how much different is that team? You know better than I do. How much different is that team from 2 years ago that beat us 49-7 to now?
Yeah. It's tough to say. I mean, I think this season is really anomalous just because, I mean, so much has changed. This is, like I said, this is an entirely new offensive scheme. Bill Musgrave is the new OC. He's bringing a West Coast-style NFL offense, which is more complex than I think a lot of these players are used to, especially the skill players. You're running different kinds of routes. You just got to think a little more. And when you have a shortened camp to implement that, there's going to be struggles and there's going to be growing pains. I think the question is, can Cal get over that in time for this game? I really don't know. It was tough to look at the performance against UCLA and be like, hey, there's positive things to bring out of this, because there weren't. It was awful all around. I would say I think that game, Patrick Laird, Cal's running back, who's now playing with the Miami Dolphins, also had a great performance. He had a good game on the ground, and that gave Garbers a lot of options. I mean, Garbers was not great his freshman year, but that kind of support, that kind of room that Laird created really helped him. And Cal has a back who can do that now. Christopher Brown Jr. has had some great games. Again, like literally everyone on this Cal team, not against UCLA, but he's a guy who's a real bruising back. He can go in there and get you yards and be consistent. And if he can do that, Garbers can open up, maybe get into rhythm, and maybe find his feet here.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And I think the reason that both of us, thankfully, were going to enjoy a little bit more stellar QB play this week is because we're playing each other. You know, like I think we have one of the worst rush defenses I have ever seen. We literally give up 5 yards. Like if I was you guys, I would literally run the ball every single time until we can prove it. Because I bet you, I would be shocked if we hold you guys under 5 yards to carry this game. And that's where's that puts Garbers in the position, if we start stacking the box, a lot of easy passes. And likewise, that's what I'm hoping can happen for Jibby. I think Jamar is going to have a great game on the ground. And I hope what they do is just stack the box, play man-on-man coverage with the Beavers receivers. And hopefully that gives Jibia some easy passes and he can get in a rhythm and start turning around, you know. But it's going to be interesting because both of our rushing attacks, I don't know how confident you guys are in your rushing attack, but you should be very confident when you're playing the Beavers because anyone runs all over us. It'll be interesting because I think the game's probably going to be won, actually, by who has the better air raid attack, because I'm kind of penciling in both of our rushing attacks just going to even each other out because they're both going to be pretty dominant, is what I would say.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, I think both these teams are almost mirror images of each other. They both have good running backs. They both have rush offenses that can perform. The difference maker here is Cal's rush hasn't performed yet. Brown had 20-something yards against UCLA on plenty of carries. Granted, I mean, the Bruins are able to stack the box, but it's not like UCLA is a great defensive team either. I mean, the Bruins gave up plenty of points and plenty of yards against Colorado, and Cal was really a game they got back into. So I could see the same thing happening for you guys. I mean, if the Bears can't get their offense rolling, it could be like sort of a bounce back game for this Oregon defense or this Oregon State defense. I apologize.
Well, I mean, that would be a dream come true, but I don't want to get too optimistic because so far my optimism's only steered me the wrong way. With that being said, let's get into our last final topic. This week, what are the 3 keys to winning for each team? I'll let you go ahead and start with it. What are the keys? If Cal's going to win this game, how are they going to do it?
Yeah, we both talked about the quarterback play. I think Cal has to make tackles, and their defensive line has to get penetration and give Gebbia pressure. Because, like you said, he's not a guy who usually gets past that first look. Mm-hmm. The Bears had 5 QB hurries against UCLA. They turned none of them into sacks. They weren't able to bring Dorian Thompson-Robinson down. Gebbia is not a mobile guy, like you said. So if the Bears D-line can get back there and wreak some havoc, I think this could really make a difference. I think they will be willing to stack the box. It'll be very interesting to see if Cal's man coverage can keep up with Oregon State's receivers. That's another real interesting point. I'm getting away from myself here. I think the D-line getting pressure, overcoming some of their lack of depth, so overcoming the massive amounts of quarantine and contact tracing they've had to go through. That could be a big moment. That'll be necessary if Cal's going to want to win this game.
Yeah, those are good. I think that's fair because if you guys get to Gebbia and make him feel uncomfortable like UW did, I have no confidence. If he's going to be in the game and you guys get so much of one hurry every 2 possessions, we're going to lose the game if he doesn't have the confidence. With that being said, I kind of outlined the 3 keys. The first one for the Beavers to win, I think what we need to do is win the time of possession battle. The last 2 games, we lost it. Into Washington, they dominated the time of possession so badly last game that they literally had 2 drives in the second half last game. Because they just ran the ball 3 yards, let it run all the way down. They had like 36 minutes time of possession. Anyway, I say we need to win the time possession, get Jamar. I want to have like at least 25 carries. Just put the ball in the best player's hands. If we lose that way, we lose that way. But just let him touch the ball as much as possible. The second key I have is I want Gebbia to at least throw for 150 yards. If he goes for 84 yards again, I'm going to lose my mind. I don't know how a quarterback who's been in the system for 3 years, he's a redshirt junior, I don't understand how he can throw for 84 yards when you're basically playing single-man coverage the whole time. And then lastly, I'm not sure how familiar you are with our outside linebacker, Hamilcar Rashad Jr., but he essentially, the beginning of the season, a lot of people are looking at him as the best linebacker in the Pac-12, potential first-round pick. And through 2 games, he has 6 tackles, 0 sacks, and like 2 QB pressures. He just hasn't shown up. And that's against a Washington State team and a UW team who have brand new coaches, So I need Hamilcar to show up. I need his presence to be felt, and I need Garber to be under pressure because otherwise, if we put no pressure on the quarterback and we miss tackles and you guys can just run the ball all over us, we're going to lose the game. And the only guy that I have confidence on, the main guy I have confidence on our defensive side of the ball to actually make his presence felt and have a big impact on the game is him. So I need Rashad Jr. to step up, have a big game.
Absolutely. And I think that's a key battle right there. Can he bounce back? Can Cal's O-line bounce back? Cal's O-line did not have a great game against UCLA. Again, they hadn't practiced against a live defensive line until Sunday, until that extremely bizarre Pac-12 Sunday game. They're going to need to show that this week has brought improvement. They're going to need to protect Garbers, keep him safe, give him the time to get in rhythm. And that's my second key to this game. Garbers is going to need to find that. It clearly Musgrave was trying to get him there. I mean, calling incomplete pass after incomplete pass. Garbers missed some wide open. They should have been touchdowns. There were plays where Cal receivers were beating out UCLA players down the sideline, and Garbers was just not putting it on the money. He has to get there. It's not like he's incapable. He showed flashes of it against UCLA. He was amazing in Cal's Red Box Bowl win. Mekhi Polk is a Cal receiver to watch. He had a phenomenal end of the year in 2019. He needs to get back there in 2020. He showed flashes of brilliance. He was, in fact, the only Cal receiver who looked like he belonged on a football field against UCLA. If he and Garbers can get some of that rapport going and be a bit of a threat, Cal can win this game. And Garbers did not look like that at all. But if he can get in rhythm, Cal has a chance. I think the other key is you and I both touched on this a little bit. It's going to be the battle between Oregon State's receivers and Cal's cornerbacks in man coverage because Cal is going to stack the box. Mm-hmm. They're going to bring in their safeties, try everything they can to stop Jefferson, and that's going to leave a lot of options on the outside. And Cal's got some great cornerbacks. Cam Bynum is a certified draft prospect. Josh Drayden and Chiggy Inuzium are two really talented guys who I think have bright futures. But that's going to be where this battle is won and lost, or this game just to an extent won and lost.
Yeah,
right there on the outside.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I almost feel like this game, as much as it's going to be won and lost in those one-on-one matchups on the outside and our quarterback player, whatever people want to say, I almost feel like this game is going to be won by whoever plays less bad or whoever tackles less bad or whatever. Because I am just penciling our team in for getting pushed off the line, having guys run over us. If based on how you're talking about Cal, I don't know if you're too pessimistic or not, but it kind of sounds like this game is just going to be like watching two JV football teams running at each other. No one can make a tackle, a lot of penalties. Happy game. It's going to be interesting. I think this game it's not going to be pretty, and I think whoever wins this should not be too proud of themselves because at the end of the day, we're still going to be bottom two of the Pac-12 North. With that being said, do you have a final score prediction for this game?
Yeah, I alluded to this earlier. I think Oregon State's going to be on top just because Jefferson's an amazing player. He's going to be a pleasure to watch, even if he is going to be ramming the ball down Cal throats all day. I think I see him picking up a lot of rush yards and, like you said, really long, ugly drives where people are not making the tackles they need to. I think those drives fizzle out in the red zone just because, I mean, you could put all 11 defenders in the box and see what happens. I see a lot of field goals from Oregon State, and I also don't see a ton of offense from Cal. I mean, Cal opened the UCLA game with a pump block, which gave them the ball, I think, the 13-yard line. They kicked a field goal, and it was really all downhill from there. Cal's offense has not been able to get firing. They don't have big play potential. I mean, every drive they have is a slog. It's these short plays. You're going down the field bit by bit, and it's just ugly, and it doesn't produce points. I see Oregon State winning this 22-13. Again, just a ton of field goals because I think Cal can stop them in the red zone, but I don't think the offense can produce on the other side of that coin.
I like that prediction because I think you might be the only other person who has some faith in Oregon State winning the game these days, aside from myself and Morgan. But I kind of am ranging the other way. Granted, this conversation, especially your expertise and the knowledge you've brought to me, has really kind of opened my eyes to maybe what I would shift my final score prediction to. But as of doing my research before this podcast or the show we have, I had OSU win this game 35-31. And the reason for this is because I have no faith in our defense. I know you don't have faith in your offense, but tell you what, it doesn't take big play potential to have big plays against us because all you need is a 6-yard run and then no one in our secondary is going to make a tackle. So don't worry about that. Secondly, I do think this is going to be Jamar. Considering Jamar, there's a good chance he's going to declare for the draft. I might go on record saying this might be hopeful thinking. I'd love to see it, but this might be his greatest game of his career, and I would love to see it. Be a lot of fun. I just think this game is going to come down to, yes, it's going to be a slugfest, but we're just going to be running the ball. That's why I don't have this in the 40s, the 50s. It's going to be 35-31 because I don't think either team has a defense that's capable of stopping the other team. All that being said, I think it's going to be a fun one. It should be entertaining. The main difference, I think, between this year and last year, it kind of is that preparation. You guys were a very well-coached team last year. I was surprised we beat you guys last year, to be honest with you. I think if you guys have Garbers, I don't know if we win that game. You can tell this year that both teams have not had as much practice because there's literally the fundamentals of what has been our downfall, at least from an Oregon State perspective. It's just we haven't been able to tackle. We're committing dumb penalties and things like this, which is why this is a shortened season, this pandemic season. It's weird. I think every game is kind of going to have a similar vibe. That being said, Jasper, it has been really fun having you. You have any last final thoughts, any bold takes or anything, or it's fun having you on this?
Hey, man, we should do this all the time. I feel like we've just been paying each other compliments all day. It's been great.
Well, yeah.
Real basement Pac-12 clash out here.
Yeah, it's nice to talk to that has some tampered down expectations, similar to Oregon State when you're surrounded by USC loudmouths in our company all the time, talking about how USC is going to win the national championship. So this has been refreshing. I've certainly enjoyed the conversation, Jasper. But to all the viewers, thank you very much for watching this crossover episode. We publish columns exclusively with sportspac12.com. You can follow them on Twitter at sportspac12, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Dash Sports TV. And find us on the web at dashsports.tv. Once again, I am Gus Light, joined by Jasper Dundee, and it's been a very fun time. Thanks again, Jasper, and we'll catch all you guys next time.